Hi, everybody, and welcome back to Resolve the Unsolved Forum from Panacea eBiz. This would be our 24th webinar. We have been getting a lot of responses and feedback and suggestions from entrepreneurs and viewers uh, on subjects and areas of interest. One very important and I would say a key focus area, which we were planning to have a webinar a couple of weeks back, but we didn't have it, was on market research. And there have been consistent demand for how to go about doing it, what should be done. So today we are going to focus specifically on the subject called importance of market research for the MSME sector. Now, the context is very, very clear. It does not mean that somebody needs market research, somebody does not need market research. Market research, I would say, is imperative whether I am a small entrepreneur or a medium-sized business or a large corporate. It has been observed while we have been associated with companies and consulting companies that sometimes people feel market research is something which only a multinational or large corporate should be going for. And we most of the time miss out that we're investing a couple of crores, time, effort, energy in putting up a new entity, a new operation, or a new concept, or reaching out to new geographies, or launching a new project, or collaborating. Before we put in our resources, our energies into the initiative, some amount of detailed understanding of what is the scope lies beyond is very, very crucial. And I would say this is an important parameter and is a must for everybody. And this is what I have been talking to Mr. Prashant Saxena for quite some time. And we were lucky to get his time today, wherein he agreed to share his thoughts and experiences with us and our forum about the importance of market research and specific to the MSME sector. Today, our guest speaker would be Mr. Prashant Saxena. Mr. Saxena, welcome to the forum. Mr. Saxena at present is a co-founder of TCAS and Trishul. These are his own companies where he is innovating and creating new concepts. One is on research, the other is on a completely different areas of equity analysis. Before forming TCAS, Mr. Saxena was heading market research and overseas market development functions of Vardhaman Group. He has a corporate experience of 15 years in areas as diverse as strategy, market, business research, and international business. He has carried out assignments for overseas as well as Indian corporate houses very successfully and has been highly appreciated for the quality of work. He has been a lead consultant in assignments delivered by a host of companies, which includes large corporates such as ACC, Aditya Birla Group, Indian Express, India Gate, Basmati, LNG Bhilwara Group, Religare, Trident, to name a few. Mr. Saxena is a Bachelor of Technology from Indian Institute of Delhi, IIT Delhi, and a postgraduate in Business Management from IMT Ghaziabad. Few would be aware of it. In fact, he has been part of a couple of policies. He has conceptualized some schemes and implemented. One of them, most of you might be aware of it. It is Farishte scheme, which is applicable in Delhi. At the same time, he has authored a book, which I was also not aware before, but as I was going through, I found it out. A Call to 1.25 billion children of Mother India. It's quite exciting facts. Today, along with us, we have Mr. Ravinder Goyal. Mr. Goyal, welcome to the forum once again. Mr. Goyal currently is heading the Panacea Business Consulting Group. He is a veteran in vocational skilling with 27 plus years of experience. He has a significant trajectory in terms of his contribution to the skilling ecosystem. He is a technology entrepreneur with a 27 plus years of experience in IT training and services industry with consistent success in achieving the goals with extensive experience of building business. At this juncture, I would request Mr. Prashant Saxena, to start off and share with us why is it very, very crucial for any business entity to look at market research as a key element. Please, Mr. Saxena.
Thank you, Mr. Good. Thanks. So, as Mr. Ghosh has pointed out very beautifully, that market research has got tremendous importance, and especially for MSc sector. So, research by and large is very crucial for anybody, any organization, be it technical research or social research or marketing research, any kind of research is in today's world where you have data in fragmented forms is very important, and it can definitely raise your level in all aspects. Even for policy also, for a country, research is very important for making policy. So research is of paramount importance. Whatever area this research has to be done, everybody agrees that is very important. Now, coming to marketing research is definitely important, as all of us know, and which is basically aimed at arriving certain decisions in marketing based on scientific study and research. If you take a decision without any research or on just based on your gut feeling or experience, it is quite likely that it is not in the best interest of the organization, and probably with the research you could have got a better solution for your marketing goals and marketing problems. So importance of market research is also supported by the fact that globally almost $90 billion of money is spent on market research by organizations. So it's quite a huge sum, and most of it is spent by large organizations.
This is where, Mr. Saxena, we were talking about this figure yesterday when we were having a small plan structure.
Yeah.
At this juncture, what I will do is I will bring you a known entrepreneur, Mr. Goel, who is already in the panel.
Yeah.
And I was discussing with him before we go into and deep dive into the structure and why should we go for market research with Mr. Saxena. Mr. Goel, you have been an entrepreneur and you have been a trainer, a unique combination. So as Mr. Saxena mentioned that it is very, very crucial. How would you like to introduce this subject to the forum?
Thank you, Sandeep, and I welcome you all on this our 24th webinar. It has been great learning, not only for the participant, but for us as well, because every Saturday we now have become a defined learners for different topics. And before we come to the forum, we also read, we also go through various texts. Now, as this market research, if I share probably way back when I started my journey in computer education, 1992. So there are two types of things. That one, you are bringing a product from outside. You have visited maybe some exhibitions. You see a new product, and then you think of that bringing it in the market. So until unless you see the product is well accepted and there is a demand, and you import the product before such kind of research, probably there may be a goof up. There may be a problem you may face, a challenge where the market is not accepting the product. Now, the another type is that when we launch something where a captive audience is there, and you know that whether it is manufacturing, whether it is a service or some delivery which is topping up the existing model. So then it becomes a little different scenario. Now, when we talk about market research as a subject, probably I'll give an example of some Bollywood actor. Let's say we take an example of Amir Khan. He does not come out with the movie every year, or not like a movie probably every 3 months. So their movie is based on extensive research. Their movie is based on extensive meticulous planning. Every scene, every dialogue is done up properly. And at the end of the launch of the movie, if you see the turnover of those movies are probably equal to maybe 10, 15, 20 movies launched during that period. So how well you have planned your thing. Sometimes it happens with the MSME sector. They do not have that much of fund to invest in the market research. And mostly it is like Me Too kind of a product where they have set up the facility under some guidance or some under motivation from their peer group. So that is a separate aspect. There probably we are not talking about a very different kind of scenario where they're talking about making a brand, going to nationwide, then probably international markets. So their scopes are limited. As Prashant said, that bigger, larger companies only go for market research because their objectives are different. So I will say that market research probably is to be taken up when probably you are living a good, comfortable life in your business and it is growing at a pace. Like it is said that the best time to exit is when you are at top, when you are at peak. So I'll say it is not exit if we replace with diversification. So the best time to diversify is when you are at the peak. So you can diversify some of your funds and probably can deploy the market research, what best can be added to your existing facilities, what best can be added to your maybe the product line or the manufacturing facilities you have or the services you are offering. So what happens that we always react at the time of crisis and we take immediate decisions, which probably sometime or most of the time they add more crisis to the existing crisis rather than resolving it.
Right.
Right.
So if you have planned and if you're thinking that yes, after 1 year, so probably most of the entrepreneurs they go on day-to-day basis. But if you plan a year or 5 years to 10 years down the line, if you have that scope, the money, the capital, infrastructure, vision, so probably then yes, you must do the research before getting into the business right away.
That's very important.
Yeah.
Great. And Prashant, this was the main reason to get the inputs from Mr. Goel. The reason was this was a thought process. I will take the liberty to say, entrepreneur speaking, right, Mr. Goel? Okay. So now we have the views from an entrepreneur also. Then, why is it very crucial for a small entity? Prashantji, I would request you to focus and share with us what you feel.
Yeah, I was like mentioning that around 80 to 90 billion dollar of
Right.
money is spent on market research globally every year, but major chunk of it is from large companies, especially from consumer goods and media and entertainment and pharma industry, which account for almost 50% of the total spent. But if you look at MSMEs, their share was earlier very low, but it is increasing globally. And in many organizations, countries like Japan or Germany, even MSME sector is playing a very important role, accounting for almost 40 to 50% of industrial product. So in India also, I have found that change taking place. That young people who wants to get into new businesses or they are already running their family businesses, they are more inclined towards market research increasingly. That I have also
Okay.
observed. But still, it is at the low stage. So, uh, coming to your question, in any industry, large corporates operate as well as MSMEs also operate. Most of the industry sectors, you will find that you know there are maybe 10, 15 organized players, large players, or even more number. I'm not going by the number, but there are a bunch of large players and then many MSMEs, especially small industries. Micro, you will not find many, but yes, small industries and medium-sized industries are there. So what happens is that because these guys, the big ones, they are armed with market research. They do research in all the directions. They do technical research also. They do financial and other researches, as well as they focus on marketing research a lot. Suppose, let's say, company which is into 1,000 crore business, they may spend around 5 crores types per year on market research. If they spend 5 crores, then SME, a medium-sized or small-sized company which is just 100 crores, even they also spend, let's say, 0.5%, which becomes just 50 lakhs. And but they don't do that kind of level of spent on market research. They do much less. As a result of which, large organizations will always be more competitive because they have better knowledge, whether it's product, whether it's pricing research, whether it's customer satisfaction research, or forecasting techniques and short-term forecasting. Everything, you have to spend some money on that, and since they spend multiple times, their competitive advantage is much more. So as a result of which, MSME goes in a vicious cycle. They less Because of less spent, because of less involvement in market research, they are not equipped with best knowledge which can give them better decision making ability. So
Okay.
that is the advantage that large organizations have because of sheer effect of their size. They are able to spend more. Their inclination, their dependence on market research is much more than SME sector.
Okay.
But as I said, this trend is definitely going to break, and people more SMEs will spend more money on this.
Mr. Saxena, just to take on from here, as you mentioned, this is giving, I would say, an undue advantage to large corporates because they are ability to spend and they are spending it.
Yeah,
So they are completely updated with and armed with market information.
yeah,
So if I have to say, what should be the minimum budget? Since we talked about the money spent percentage of turnover, what should be an ideal minimum budget for marketing research for startups
yeah,
as well as existing businesses in the
yeah.
MSME sector?
Now, first coming to startups, because most of the startups are already in MSME sector. You
Yes.
will know that only large startups are there, only a few maybe, and they are also funded by large organizations, or you come as division of large organization. So in startups, I think whatever is the project cost, there's no hard and fast rule for that because it varies from one industry to the other. If you want to, if your customers are more, if your products are more complicated, so obviously you will have to spend more. But I think by and large it should be at least 1% of the project cost.
At least
Okay.
1% of it.
Yeah, at least in that range, I think.
Now, at
For
this,
running organizations, as you asked, for running organizations in MSME sector, I think it should be somewhere around 0.1 to 0.2% of their revenue.
and you feel it is very important. At this point of time, I'll take a viewpoint from Mr. Goel also.
Yeah.
Let me,
Yeah,
Mr. Goel.
I would just add one point here.
Okay, please.
Most of the industries, especially in the small scale sector, even if they do market research, they make a budget based on their profits as a
Okay.
percentage of their profits, which is wrong actually. You have to do it on the basis of your revenue at least, because uh, once you are in bad shape or your profits are less, your research budget will also go down, which is counterproductive. Your research budget should be stable. This is why. Yeah, please do.
So, Mr. Goel, I'm coming back to you. I'll beg your time a bit. The reason I'm trying to get you more involved into this interaction is I can have ready access to an existing entrepreneur at my liberty. And I have an exciting discussion point being brought up by Prashantji in terms of it is important to arm yourself. Now, going forward, how do you see as an entrepreneur when there is a fixed resources to be marked for research, and it is important as Mr. Saxena proposes?
You see, I'll come up with an example like what we see during the polls in India or anywhere else. We like different channels, different media companies coming up with the exit polls or maybe like the before polling. I mean, they have a mandate from the public.
Right.
That the more the bigger the channel is, their sample size will be larger.
Okay.
Research, when we talk about probably what I feel is that how intensive it has to be. Depends on what is the base goal behind that entire exercise.
Right.
Now, it is only to justify the decision taken by the management or the promoters. So then probably they'll hire a company and they say, okay, you just speak to 300, 400, 500 group of people and then give us the survey. So basically, at this level, what Prashantji was saying, at MSME level, where the budgets are not high or the product they are getting into is like through motivation from the peer group, or maybe there is some captive production they are doing. You see, then the purpose of this market research basically does not exist. It is sometimes only to justify the documents if they are taking loans, or probably just to justify their other requirements if are at all required by the government, or some probably the sector requirements.
Okay.
Generally, I have seen that people do not take market research seriously because it is promoter driven, and once it is promoter driven, even if we do the market research, probably the sample size will be very small, and it will be more to justify his decision, not to remain unbiased on whether the product or whatever decision they are taking.
Got it. Got it. Wonderful. Thanks. In fact, I was waiting to hear some of the informations and some of the reactions which comes from there, Prashantji. It brings me to a very, very important question at this stage.
Yeah.
What kind of a return can one expect from a market research? So, Mr. Goel rightly pointed out samples, and I'm sure you might be facing these kind of scenarios which are there. So now, what kind of a return can I, as an MSME, expect out of a market research?
Returns can be fabulous.
Okay. Okay.
If you do, let's say, 10 projects, 10 market research projects, maybe in one or two projects you may not get any return, but it doesn't mean that you should stop there. Out of 10 market projects, this is my experience because I have been working for corporates as well as for lesser known organizations. Out of 10 projects, at least 6-7 projects will give you some return. And even out of that, 2, 3, 4 projects will give you even 1000% returns.
Okay.
Some projects may just save you from disaster.
Right.
There would be 1 in 10 projects which may save you from disaster. And some projects will give you 1000% return. If you spend 5 lakhs, maybe you gain 10 crores, 20 crores kind of money. I can give you several examples.
If you can share
it
with us, if you please.
Yeah. Recently, we did some projects on getting into product mix for a new beginner, for somebody who wants to put up around 20 crore worth of plant and machinery. The total project cost was around 25 crores. And they wanted us to do the entire research for and suggest them what should be the product mix. Okay. So we did product mix study extensively, and we charge around 5 to 6 lakhs to them as our fee. And because once we found out the right product mix, which was quite different from what they were just anticipating, the entire machine mix was also changed, because machine is related to product. So, because of that, they changed everything, and then they realized that had they gone for those products and ordered different machine mix, then they would have been in big trouble. So that was just complete turnaround in their business. Now they are doing quite well, because they have set up those lines and they are making those products. That's one example where the complete transformation took place, because once, based on their gut feeling and peer pressure, they were thinking that we should go for these products, and for that they require these machines. So that's one example. But by and large, suppose if you are a running organization and you are marketing your products, you should always regularly do your customer satisfaction measurement, where you should assess your pricing vis-a-vis your quality, your competitors, your quality, your customer service, pre-order service, post-order service, everything. And many times you will be shocked with the findings of this study, because if an independent agency does that, they will do it without bias. But if you get it done through your own internal people, then sometimes you may get biased results. So what happened is that when we did this particular study, we told them that you are giving the best quality in the market. This as particular assignment we did for a large player, almost $1 billion kind of turnover, which is into textiles. So we told them, you are giving the best quality to them, you are giving your customer best service, but your prices are not best. So what is happening is, you are the best in, you are market leader in quality, you are you are market leader in customer service, but you are not the price leader. So what is the reason for that? And if you increase your prices by 1%, even 1%, we worked certain pricing model for them also. And if you increase by 1%, then your net profit will increase by 20%, because you are just getting 5% net profit to sales ratio. And if you increase your prices by 1%, it will be from 5 to 6. So
Okay.
which means it will 20% more. And in around this business was around 800 to 900 crores. So if you add 1% to that was 8-9 crores. But for that, their market research spend was just around 10 lakhs. So you see how many number of times you can get the return. Just by spending 10 lakhs, sometimes you come to know that your price is low, and you can fetch 8 crores more from the market. So what happened is that when we do project, we also handhold after that for some time. So for 6 months, we monitored, we advised them not to increase 1% price with respect to your nearest competitor in one go. Rather, you do it 25 paisa types. 25, you increase by 0.5 rupees and give 0.25% discount. So net, you are increasing 0.25. So in 3-4 shots during the year, you give that relative prices additionally to your competitors, to your customers. So they did it successfully, and as I told you, 8-9 crores of extra profit just by spending 10 lakh rupees. So what kind of return of investment? So it was almost 100 times,
Manifold.
and that is only for 1 year. That is only for 1 year, but now they have realized they have spent some money, let's say another 20-30 lakhs in building some brand, because this is a B2B product. So you don't have to spend so much. You have just 50 to 100 customers all across India. So You have to do certain promotional activity to increase your brand. So
Right.
they have done it, and this is perpetual, and I'm sure this will continue. They will, and they are now thinking of becoming a real price leader in other products also. So, this kind of cascading effects are there due to marketing.
This brings me to a query which I was just penning down. Now, when you mentioned one was price, and you talked about the brand building also.
Yeah,
So the question from a entrepreneurial perspective is, before I make fresh investments,
yeah,
what all should be studied under market research?
yeah.
So if you're recommending a market research, so I have to make a fresh investment.
Okay.
What all should be studied in market research?
Yeah, yeah.
Please.
So actually, one is that you make any investment based on what your friends say, or what your few people say, or what you feel about it, or based on your own business, or what your staff or your say. But this is good, but this is not scientific way of arriving at certain decisions. So in market research, when you do market research, it has to be very scientifically done. And as Ravinder ji also mentioned about sample size, so there are so many aspects which you have to take care of so that your results are 100% correct and unbiased. So I think everybody whosoever enters in a new business must see demand supply scenario for the current, for the future. They should look at what kind of forecasting is there for this product globally or India. They should study the SWOT analysis of that product. What is the profit potential of that product in the future? Whether there will be substitution product which will just destroy the market. We should also look at what is the need gap in the market, because if they just become generic and come out with regular products, then I don't think they'll make profit, because their scale of operations may be limited, so they will not enjoy economy of the scale. So they have to look at need gap, they have to look at satisfaction gap, and assess all these things very delicately, and then they should move forward this proactively.
So,
And also, once they have decided, then they should do certain concept testing or product testing in the market. Before launching something, they have to do certain, and for that, the right sample is very important. So this is I can say this is comprehensive, 360-degree market research. They should also look at suppliers. So obviously, just one assignment they have to do, which can encompass everything I have just talked about.
so what you're saying is one exercise in terms of understanding the supplier,
Yeah,
understanding the prospective market, current and in future.
yeah,
Is there a gap, need gap analysis?
yeah,
And you're saying SWOT is very, very critical.
yeah,
Strength, weakness, opportunity, and threat
yeah,
in the short term and the long term, which is there.
yeah.
So this comprehensive picture will give a report of its independent report of its kind, on which
Absolutely.
a decision could be validated before a person plows in crores.
Yeah.
Okay.
Correct.
Now, getting to the next level, there has been always a question which we have been faced while talking to entrepreneurs. What are the various type of market research assignments that a running MSME should do on a regular basis? So, if I'm a regular MSME, what kind of a regular exercise could be done, which
Actually,
is economical
yeah,
also and makes
yeah.
sense for my business?
Looking at the, of course, economy part of it, because MSMEs don't have unlimited resources as corporates have, though they also have limited resources, but their you know resources are much more and they spend a lot more. But in order to survive and in order to grow at that level, MSMEs need to go for certain market research exercises, looking into the budget aspect as well. So I think one a regular exercise which must go is customer satisfaction measure,
Okay.
which includes which can be done once in 6 months or once in a year, and which can include unbiased feedback
Okay.
from the market on various parameters such as pricing, price terms,
Okay.
quality of product, pre-order service parameters, then post-order service parameters, general behavior of marketing team, you know,
Okay.
uh, effect of advertising, whatever little advertising they must be doing, they should get the feedback of that as well.
Okay.
Because then what kind of media planning they are doing, whether their media planning is correct or not, even if they are spending little amount, maybe because digital marketing can also help them in certain ways. So they have to ensure that whatever is being spent in the name of advertising or whatever is not wasted. So I think this exercise is a must, and then price intelligence, as I said, in customer satisfaction, pricing will also come. Price intelligence exercise they should also do, and uh, they must also look at the value propositions, whatever value addition they can get out of their business. Obviously, that will not be a one-time exercise. That's a regular process, and entrepreneurs are mostly alert on that. But customer satisfaction measurement is such an exercise which they themselves cannot do. They have to outsource to a independent agency. So I think that's at least they should do.
But I would have a very straightforward question. An entrepreneur says, "Ki I know my customer. Whenever I go, my
Yeah,
customer gives me a good feedback. So why do I
yeah.
need customer feedback report?
So
How will
yeah,
it respond?"
very good. Actually, what happens is that when you uh, go to a customer, so obviously there is some relationship angle. You know, he doesn't know, he doesn't want to, spoil the relation. So he will always be good with you unless there is a problem.
Okay.
Then maybe he is getting cheaper from you. That is why he is so nice to you. You know,
Okay.
you don't know if you ask him, okay, my product is good. He will say, yeah, your product is very good. Your service is very good. But when you ask, you will never ask, my price is good. No, he will always say your price is more. I am paying less to somebody else. But the fact may be that your price is less. So as I just gave one example recently that we did one exercise and we found that the quality was of my customer, quality was quite good. They were the quality leader, they were the service leader, but they were not the price leader.
Okay.
So I objected to that. I said, when you are a service leader, when you are a quality leader, and you are fetching prices which are number three, number four are fetching. So I mean, you should fetch higher prices because your quality is good, your customer. So what happens is in customer satisfaction studies when you do independently, many shocking things come which entrepreneurs don't know at all. They don't have any clue about it.
Okay.
So many times those kinds of feedbacks come.
I see. So that's quite revealing, which is very, 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 very important. One more factor was coming to my mind is what percentage of, because a context of market research is always to large corporates, right? So in that context, if I may ask you a question, what percentage of large organizations go for regular market research?
Yeah. Uh, Around 90%.
Is that high?
Yeah, yeah. Large organizations, I would say almost 100%. But since you are asking regular market research,
Mhm.
so uh, it is around 90%,
90% as such.
because they cannot survive, they cannot grow without that.
So at the onset, if an entrepreneur, as we are talking about the MSME,
Yeah.
he runs a business. One is starting a business, one is running a business.
Yeah.
Okay. If we take this two situation, what would be your straightforward advice and suggestion to person who is launching a new product and to a person who is running his regular business, which is there in form of research?
Yeah, I think I mentioned at few places
Mhm.
that for new one, I think the entire spectrum of market 360 degree should be studied independently by some professional organization, professional market research firm, which may include product, pricing, customers, suppliers, industry, um, need
Right.
gap, satisfaction gap. So that's one time study that one has to conduct before really deciding whether to enter in that segment or not. For regular one, as I said, customer satisfaction measurement is one which any MSME cannot afford to not to do. Then continuous price intelligence, you know,
Price intelligence.
yeah. So these activities should be done regularly. Concept and product testing. If you want to go for new products, then that is also there. So
Important.
these are bare minimum. Then identification of new business opportunities. Suppose some entrepreneur is there and they want to diversify, then they should always keep on doing that. So my point is that whether you are entering into a new business or you are already having a running business and you want to diversify it, or you don't want to diversify it, but you want to grow in a running business, in all situations, I think professional market research independently done is very, very important.
Right. And you have been proposing that at least minimum of 0.5% to 1% of the revenues per annum.
Yeah, I said for somebody who is new, who is putting up, let's say something new, then I think he should spend at least 1% of his project cost,
Okay.
whatever be the project cost. And for those who are already there in the business, I think they should spend 0.1 to 0.2% of their revenues, annual revenues on market research. But it's not, by and large, I'm just telling you based on my what feedback I get,
Right.
but there's no standard for that. I think, as I said, market research out of 10 projects, 2, 3 projects you may not get anything, any return, but
Right.
in 6, 7 projects, many times you will get 1,000 times return. It depends because the purpose of market research is to bring on the table facts and analyze them and make a strategy. And that strategy, maybe you are already in the right strategy. So if market research finds that you are in the right strategy, you may not get any return out of it because you are already the best. But whatever shortcomings or whatever corrections are required, if it is bring about through market research, then obviously you will get certain benefits if you
True.
immediately implement.
True.
So more you do it, which means more you do it, more likely you will get more returns. You know,
So
this
this
is
is
what I
important. I do agree with you. Just to share with everybody, like a year and a half back, if I'm right, Prashantji, we were involved in a project for a multinational company from US. They were
right.
into a hardware manufacturing of valves, where Mr. Prashantji's team was involved. I was also coordinating.
Yeah,
Just to share, it's a big multinational.
yeah,
They spent, yes, few lakhs.
yeah,
But out of the study, they could make out whether they should enter the India market or not.
yeah,
And our report and analysis, which we brought out and presented to them, also mentioned that if you are entering the Indian market, the right way is not alone to collaborate and what is the path.
yeah,
So these are some facts why big companies are bigger, not because they think ahead. They think for the next 10 years, 15 years, 20 years.
Right.
And as Prashantji has been rightly pointing out, we have been talking about market research consistently. It's a small fraction of trying to understand, am I in the right direction? And scientifically giving me some inputs,
Yeah.
which is very, very, very important for all of us. Anybody has any questions can unmute and speak out, or you can put it on the chat box. Mr. Goel, I would request you to add in your thoughts at this stage, please. I'm sure we will be having a couple of things which you have been.
You see, like as you mentioned, Sandeep, that the research, market research for startups and for running companies.
Yes.
Now, I was just wondering, when we talk and speak a startup, so startup is something like resolve the unsolved, the forum,
Right.
what we have kept. So when you basically creating a solution for a unique existing problem, or you are innovating something, and when you take it to the market research, now you see what happens sometime when the product is not into existence. I remember it happened with me way back in 2004. We launched chapter wise assessment for the school students. So the teachers or the school or the students, when we spoke to them, they said it is not possible because the assessment pattern at way back in 2004 was quite different. Uh, so still we pushed, and because it was something like where you can identify your areas, gray areas in education, what you are not, what you have not learned. It went well, but you see, such kind of product, when you are innovating or you have a unique solution, probably market research may not give you the right picture at that point of time, because then it is correlating with the experience of the product. Now it may happen that today market research says that we do not require this product, but when you launch that product and take it to the consumer and give them some experience, probably it might be a very big hit. Like Flipkart is an example. It started as a like book
Right.
library. It was more like library.
Yes.
How you evolve and how you what you are thinking. So market research is basically aligning. I must say that market research is more towards aligning your product offering or maybe the line of action. You can probably, but the ideation cannot be. I think idea and startup cannot be streamlined or cannot probably entirely base their working based on the market research.
What do you say, Prashantji, on this? Is it that a new idea cannot be studied scientifically?
Actually, for any idea, there are scientific methods to judge whether this idea is correct or not. For example,
Okay.
it's just a chance that somebody did not go for checking something and it went positive. You know. So, but for anything, there is a customized solution to
So
check
it's
whether
more of a area which you mentioned about product testing, which is done, or a new concept testing.
testing or concept testing. So obviously, if you do some market research today, at least market research can tell you today it's feasible or not based on certain methodologies. But 5 years down the line, there is a limitation. Market research cannot tell. For example, market research, agar aapne, like, for example,
Yes.
in January 2000, today is what, February 20th.
20th.
1 year exactly back, had you asked somebody what is, the prospects of, let us do market research on masks, for example. 1 year back, somebody asked, let's do market research on masks. So, people might have worked out and submitted a report in the first week of March that it's not very exciting. And suddenly, after a week or 2 weeks, there was pandemic, and there was a demand of masks. So,
But obviously, it's a situation.
Yeah, this is what I'm saying. So you never know. what is going to happen after 5 years? Whether you put best of your tools, you cannot predict things. Like things like these. But you can test them for the current situation.
Okay. So I think that is very important. What Mr. Goyal you pointed out, you were also right. When I'm putting in a new concept or a new idea, that is what you shared. And until it has been tested in the market or people feel it, it's very difficult to come out of it. So in both the contexts, as Mr. Saxena, you also saying, it it has to be tested out and studied.
Yeah,
So maybe a controlled assessment or controlled testing might give us a
absolutely,
review of the scenario. Okay.
absolutely.
So it's very important, Mr. Goyal, what you pointed out is very important. So that means anybody testing out a new product or a new concept or new ideas, there will be obviously liabilities and limitations. But there can be an opportunity to scientifically test it out before going all out. Maybe a way onto it.
Absolutely.
Good, it makes sense because the more we discuss onto it, it becomes also clear uh, for an entrepreneur, should we go for it? And obviously taking inputs from experts in terms of what is the right time, how to go about, would suggest a scientific direction, right?
Yeah.
Which is there.
I have a question with Prashant. Prashant, I'm just talking a bit out of the context.
Okay.
Please.
A market research company, let's say, is an entrepreneur who's saying that I'm launching this product and probably I have only 10-15 days already, because you see the entrepreneurs are like that. Sometimes, most of the time, they have everything in place, and just before saying go ahead, probably they might consult. I think, in my opinion, very few people before getting into the production or buying stage, they do the market research and then they go for something. So that process, I think, must be with very few people. How far, like, market research companies do advise that this research will take at least this much of time or this much of money, or we must cover this much of total, like the sample size or the kind of customers? Because you see, the entrepreneur has its own limitation that, okay, I want it to be done in 15 days or 30 days or maybe 2 months, 3 months time. And some, being a professional on your side, do we have that like balancing approach where like market research companies says that, boss, it is not possible to do what you are saying?
I think that may be individual's limitation. That may be that company's individual limitation. But I think anything can be done in 2 to 3 weeks. I mean, especially which is related to collation of primary data, where you want to do certain product testing. I don't think it will go beyond 3 weeks.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's feasible.
Yeah, I am talking about B2C. In B2B, of course, it may take something more time. Depends. It depends. What kind of industry is this? What kind of your customers are there? So, but by and large, I would say within 4 weeks that can also be.
Do you like another question, probably again, not on the technical side of it, like you said that market research, as an entrepreneur, I'm asking. Now, one is that I have my own product in mind.
Yeah.
And second setup comes that I have the money, not the product.
Yeah.
What can be done in that case?
In that case, probably certain scanning of products can be done and can be suggested. And then maybe based on mutual understanding, a few products or one product can be just tested for marketing feasibility.
So you said the market research can also be done for the like purpose of diversification, that which industry or maybe which particular product.
Yeah, that can be done. That can be. Obviously, we cannot do in 360-degree covering everything because that will be too comprehensive, too large, and out of budget. But once we scan, and zero down to 4 5 products or 4 5 different services, then we can probably make one pre-feasibility test, which is called pre-feasibility test, and based on that, once we decide that out of five, let's say research on two, then we can do research on two and find out which is better.
Okay. Sounds good. Sandeep.
Great. Anybody has any questions? Sanjeev, Pankaj, anybody has? I think people don't have any question. Anybody wants to speak out anything? Fine. I think
I just want to ask one thing is, are we supposed to get some sort of a practical training on how to use this tool or how to do these market research? That would be something that would be
okay.
very helpful.
So we had Manu speaking, right?
Yes, that's me.
Okay, Manu. Thanks. It's a good question. So if I got you right, so yes, we have a provision, but that is under a planned program. We do a couple of things which we will be sharing with you. What you can do is you can send us a like query on our mail ID. You can write to us, and we'll let you know when this relevant program is happening. Right? So that is a completely planned training programs which are on market research. Does it answer your question, Manu?
Yes.
Okay, we'll do that. Anybody has any other questions, queries? Okay, that's great. Thank you, Mr. Prashant Saxena. Thank you so much for your time and efforts.
For attending. Thank you.
There is a question.
Yeah,
So if I can read it out, how to get authentic primary data in limited time period without incurring huge cost?
Sorry?
Mr. Saxena, have you got the question? You got the question?
Can you just repeat, please?
How to get authentic primary data in limited time period without a huge cost?
Yeah, this question is quite generic one, which comes to our minds also very frequently. But it depends which industry, which market, what is the extent of market research. It depends on that, because he's talking about primary data. Primary data is also depending on what kind of respondents are there and which is related to your product. So, what is the socio-economic or demographic profile of respondents, and to what degree you want to sell your product and or service? What is the geographical span? So there's so many conditions to it. The
So
cheaper way is to probably get it through emails or calling. But again, it depends on the product, because what is most important is that your sample size has to be sufficient and it should be representative to your target segment. So that's important. So I can answer this question if you have product in mind and if you have geographical spread in mind, so that we can pinpoint which is the target segment, and then I can devise you which is the best. For example, if you want to sell something in rural market, then of course online surveys cannot be done. And again, depends on the nature of products. In some product or in some services, if you want to do some survey, then obviously you cannot ask online or you cannot ask on the phone. Then you have to go physically present there. So it is dependent on so many parameters. So probably if the query is specific, then I can tell you which is the best way to economize the entire exercise.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Pankaj. I hope that answers your query. Okay. So once again, thanks everybody for participating. Thank you, Mr. Saxena, once again
Thank you so
for
much.
sparing this time,
Thank you, Mr.
enriching thoughts and ideas. Mr. Goel, thank you for bringing in your perspective as an entrepreneur. It was quite helpful in bringing up the discussions.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody, and have a nice weekend. Then we move on to an eventful week next week, and we catch up again next Saturday. Thanks.